I just thought I'd have a very quick look at this Scott Henderson, some of the Scott Henderson stuff. Never heard of him before I saw him on Ben's video. Never heard of that Colin Sagrin, whatever his name is either. I haven't googled him yet, but just having a quick look at Scott Henderson's stuff. This is actually the Allis site. Go there if you must. Most of it's absolute drivel. But anyway, he's got a couple of images here. This one is the AS16 106-17390. Now AS16 means it's from Apollo 16. And he's got another image here, AS17 137-20979, which is the one on the right. Okay, so that's the one on the right. That's from Apollo 17. And this is the one from Apollo 16. What his comment says is part of the fender had fallen off the rover during Apollo 16. Nothing was done to fix it during the photography and filming during this mission on Apollo 17, because what he's saying is they use the same rover basically. It's all a film set. On Apollo 17, the astronauts mounted a map on the fender right, that's that, to stop dust and dirt from flying up at them. Either all the rovers broke the right rear fender, or this is the same rover with the addition of a blue box at the rear to make it look different. Notice the oil-free wheels. Now, what's the first thing you notice about that comment? First thing you notice about that comment. Okay. Either all the rovers broke the right rear fender, or this is the same rover with the addition of a blue box at the rear to make it look different. We'll address the oil-free wheels in a second. But I only see pictures of two rovers, don't you? So how does he draw the conclusion? Where's the picture of the Apollo 15 rover with the missing? I'll get my teeth in it a bit. With the missing rear right fender. Now there is no picture because the Apollo 15 rover did not lose its right rear fender. So there's a gaping chasm number one. Okay, the oil-free wheel. We'll just look at this very quickly because it's not going to take very long to address. But as you can see, there is already starting a build-up of dust adhered to there and to the hub and to the shaft. Most likely, it just hasn't been out there long enough to accumulate as much as the picture, as the wheel he showed in the picture from Apollo 15. Which had quite a lot of dust adhered to the rear wheel. Now, let's just see what NASA have to say about this, and that they actually do have something to say about it. Surprisingly, I'm really surprised that NASA give the time of day to these fake moon landing piffle peddlers. But anyway, that's no, that's not it. This is it here. Okay, so what do NASA have to say about this? Okay, extracts from Apollo mission flight evaluation reports. Okay, so loss of LRV, Lunar Rover. This is early in the morning. Good heavens! I think I need to go and sit out in the sun for a while to get my blood circulating. I can't move my jaw. Can't move my tongue. Loss of LRV left front fender extension on Apollo 15. Okay, that's why I didn't show the picture of the rover from Apollo 15, because the rover from Apollo 15, now this is the one where he's talking about the oil, the oil leak. The oil. Sorry, I can't help laughing. I know I do it too much, but this is the one. This is the image that he uses, that Scott Henderson uses to show the oil leak. And I think I showed in the previous video, that it's not an oil leak at all. It's just dust being thrown up from the front wheel, adhering to the rear wheel. But it's the front left fender extension here that's missing on Apollo 15. It's not the right rear, as in Apollo 16 and Apollo 17. That's why Scott Henderson didn't show the picture of the rover from Apollo 15. And he's trying to give the impression that the Apollo 15 rover lost the right rear fender. You know, either they all lost the right rear fender, or it's the same rover, I think was his comment. Well, no. As I said, these piffle peddlers, they'll find a bit of a hook, but they don't sort of stick with the facts. They'll always sort of embellish, and they'll bend stuff, they'll leave stuff out. They'll give the impression that something else might be a little bit different than it actually is. So it's the left front fender on Apollo 15, right rear on 16, and right rear on 17. Now, the reason for this is because, you know, you might get a run of cars, and they'll have there'll be a problem. There'll be a design problem with the car. It's like the 40 airbags. I mean, that's a pretty global thing. Everyone's heard of that one. So because you might have, you know, 200 Ford Falcons that have all got a 40 driver's airbag, it doesn't mean they're all the same Ford Falcon. It means it's a common stock fault. And the common stock fault with the Lunar Rover was these fenders. And it's not like it's a complete fender that breaks. The reason they've had the problems with them is they have to have retractable fender extensions, so they can actually fold it all up and fit it inside the lunar module. So these fender extensions slide around, so they have to be slid back like that, which means they've got to slide on guides. They've got to slide on guides. And they were going to do something about it, but, you know, Apollo was scrapped. Let's see if I can find what they actually wrote about the... Okay, so on Apollo 16 it said, again, apologies for my... It's going to sound like I'm reading this through a camera viewfinder, because that's what I'm doing, so I can't see all of it. It says the crew reported that the right rear fender extension was bumped and knocked off while working around the aft end of the LRV, the Lunar Rover vehicle. Someone sent me a comment there. I don't think I'm physically flexible enough for that, but thanks for the comment. Now, all comments welcome, of course. Okay, whilst it was bumped. It was knocked off whilst working around the aft end of the Lunar Rover vehicle. This created a significant problem in that excessive dust was thrown forward onto the crew and LRV by the rear wheel. A redesign of the fender extension stop is being incorporated to eliminate this problem. Okay, that's on Apollo 16. Yeah, they don't quite know why it's missing from the Apollo 15 vehicle, but again, it's one of these sliding one of these sliding extensions. It's got knocked off while they were unpacking it, or someone's knocked it off putting the thing together, who knows. It's one of those things. Let's just go rid of this comment. Okay, so if we look at what they say about the Apollo 17 rover, it says during extravehicular activity, EVA-1, at the lunar module prior to driving to the ASLAP, that's the surface experiment package, the CDR inadvertently pulled off the right rear fender extension by catching it with a hammer carried in the right leg pocket of the extravehicular mobility unit. While still at the lunar module site, the commander spent approximately 12 minutes taping the extension onto the fender. Because of the dusty surfaces, the tape did not adhere and the extension fell off, returning from station 1. In the moon's low gravity and hard vacuum, loss of the fender extension allowed dust to be thrown forward by the revolving rear wheel onto the LRV and crew. Per real-time procedures established by MSC and MFS, whatever that is, it's going to be something to do with people back at Houston. They would have come up with a fix like they did with Apollo 13. The crew taped together 4 lunar module maps and fastened them to the fender with 2 clamps from the lunar module. Installation of this fix required approximately 7 minutes of commander and lunar module pilot surface time at the beginning of EVA-2. This fix was adequate for the remainder of the mission. A fender extension was also lost on Apollo 15 and 16. A fender modification, remember 15 was front left, not rear right. A fender modification was incorporated for Apollo 17 to prevent the fender extension from being dislodged from its guides. The fix would have been effective, except that the force applied was so great that it fractured the guide rail, or it fractured the guide material. So there you go. So that's just a little bit on the Lunar Rover and the missing or damaged fenders. You know, they like to, these piffle peddlers, they like to give the impression that all 3 rovers had the right rear fender missing, and of course only 2 of them did. They don't tell you that they're what's actually missing is fender extensions. They're the sort of things that can get broken off. That it's not a solid, you know, it's not this fender arrangement is not. It's not all one moulding. It's not all one moulding. This is an extension. So it is the sort of it's the sort of thing that can happen. So personally, I don't think there's a problem with that at all. That makes perfectly good sense to me. So there we go. I think we can put the Lunar Rover story, you know, that it's all the same rover. It was all filmed on Earth. You know, it's got an oil leak. I can't help it. Sorry. I think we can put all that to bed. It's just twaddle. Okay, well, I might look at something else. I was looking at another one of his images where he's talking about mud and standing water, and to be perfectly honest, I don't see standing water or mud. I see lunar dust and a shadow. But that's just me. Maybe that's just me. Thanks for watching, and maybe I'll catch you again.